You made a video. I think it's one of your most popular video. Why women don't apologize. Can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, I think one of the things here on this side of the internet, we always say, women want the power of a man and the responsibility, but they want the accountability of a child. Blah blah blah. Women have a tough time taking accountability. All this other stuff. Can you speak deeper to, and you really explained it well in that video,
Thanks.
But can you speak deeper to that concept of apologies in females?
Sure. First, I'll respond to the most common pushback or objection to that, which is saying that explaining why women don't apologize doesn't mean that men don't. But it's
Good point.
men and women often don't apologize for different reasons, I found. Men often don't apologize because of an ego thing. That can happen to women. But what I found is that women don't apologize because they have a different conceptualization of the foul than men do. With respect to men, we think that the behavior is what requires the apology. You stepped out of bounds.
Yeah.
You did something, and I would like you to acknowledge that you did that bad thing, apologize for that, and change your behavior moving forward. Because that, of course, is the only real apology, is changed behavior.
Yeah, true.
But what I found is that a lot of women treat the foul as the pain or the anger or the emotional reaction in the man as a response to her behavior.
Gotcha.
The problem is not so much what she did. The problem is that I'm angry about it. And within that conceptualization, she might not have to solve the problem, she might not have to change her behavior. She just might have to get me to feel differently.
Yeah.
And that's why you see some of the otherwise quizzical things that women are subject to doing in this. Like maybe they'll just let some time blow over and then send you some funny memes as if nothing happened.
Yeah. Yes.
Or I had a situation where I had a disagreement with a woman, and then a few hours later, she just took her clothes off and laid down naked in front of me, as if like just having sex would make everything better.
Yeah.
Which I found to be somewhat disrespectful, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen that night.
Rightfully so, but most men would not take that appropriately. They would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get sex." Like, yeah,
I guess
you did it the right way, but most other guys would just accept that.
It just felt so like, what kind of man would I be to surrender the principle of what happened for some momentary pleasure? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Top boss Soul Matt would say, "Dick is a gift."
Yeah.
You guys are full of quotes. So that's why some women don't apologize, is because they see the foul in the emotional reaction in the man as opposed to her own behavior. She obviously doesn't think she did anything wrong. That's why she did it.
Yeah.
I mean, she probably felt like it was in her rights, and it's just
Let me ask you this.
I had a problem with it. Go ahead.
Would you say this is why it's so important, where when you're correcting a woman or enforcing a boundary, etc., you do it in a calm, cool, collected fashion, so you minimize, because what you're saying here is actually very profound. I want the audience to really understand this, that men have an issue with the behavior, right? That's why they want the apology and they want it to be corrected. Women have an issue with how they made you feel from the behavior, but they discount the behavior. And I think if you're able to respond to her behavior that pissed you off or you didn't like in a calm, cool, and collected manner, she can't see an emotional response from you. And therefore, that only leaves one thing, which is the glaring problem. It was your fucking behavior, not my reaction.
Correct. Now, there's some rational basis for this. Like we have this phrase, no harm, no foul. So it could be that maybe I did step out of bounds in our relationship. But if you say, hey, no problem, man, it's like, okay, I guess we're just going to carry on some level.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's not completely irrational where women might be coming from. But absolutely, there's two reasons why it's important to keep your calm about that.
Yeah.
First of all, is if your emotional tone is too angry, then she might get triggered, and then she only hears that, and she's not going to take in what you say.
Yeah.
And that's true for anybody, man or woman, who gets emotionally triggered. They're no longer susceptible to logic and reason, so you can't actually have a mature conversation with them.
Yeah.
So you have to take care of your tone so that they don't become emotionally like confused in that moment, panicked.
Yep.
But yeah, if a person is flailing, they're going to find some other way to squirm out of it.
Yeah.
And it could be that you're raising your voice against me right now.
Yeah.
And so that's just a distraction tactic. And it's very easy to move to the side if you understand it and you can keep your cool in that moment.
That's avoiding accountability.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So so that's why it's got to be a measure. I mean, I hate to say it, man, but you got to talk to them like children almost. It's like, hey, you know, we're in a relationship. Maybe you love her or whatever. You give something positive up front. And then you tell her, look, I didn't like XYZ. I'm not angry about it. I'm just disappointed in you. This behavior will not be tolerated again, etc. And you kind of go about it. But you have to be, but if you like, oh, no, and you be emotional, you're basically letting her know that both of you are equal and you're going to go ahead and play her game. And that's not what you want to do. So
masculine and feminine communication is very different.
Yeah.
So let's say that for whatever reason, we had some sort of like beef.
Yeah.
And we're going to come together and talk about it.
Yeah.
This happens between men. What we're probably going to do is be as cool,
of course,
and calm, because we both know what could happen if things get disrespectful and things get out of hand.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to take as much emotion out of our voices as possible.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk slower. We're going to talk calm. Okay. Here's the thing about that. When you're talking, and this is where guys screw this up all the time when they have to have sometimes necessary or difficult conversations with their women. They'll speak to them like a man like that. Mm-hmm. They'll take all the emotional tone out of their voice. And suddenly all the woman is responding to is the absence of warmth. And now she starts to get afraid. Now she starts to get panicked. Because what she's hearing, if you take the words out of it and you just have the tone, she's hearing something like, da 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 da. That's
how we communicate.
And that doesn't sound like I love you. That doesn't sound like I'm on your side. That doesn't sound like we're on the same team. Right? They're gonna respond more to the tone than guys do. We talked about that earlier today. So if you're gonna have a difficult conversation with a woman, put some warmth in your voice.
Yo, next after hours. I have a question.
Motherfuckers.
That's pretty good.
The cadence and the rhythm. You know, I don't like that rhythm.
Let me change it up.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly sounds like there's a trouble. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she's going to start to get defensive.
Yeah.
What I've noticed is you can say almost anything to a woman if you have a smile on your face and warmth in your voice.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's how you say it.
So yeah, you have to be calm and collective at the same time. Yes, I really like that you brought that up. Like you lead in, you got to kind of softly let them down. Hey, I love you, etc. That's why I'm having this difficult conversation with you.
I wouldn't even use the word difficult. You know? That's already priming.
I wouldn't say. I meant for the audience. I wouldn't say difficult, but like that's why I'm telling you this, right? I love you, and that's why I want to tell you this. Boom, and then you tell her what it is, and then she's gonna be more likely to be like, "Damn, I don't want to lose his approval. He had me at this light, and I lost a little bit of whatever." Or what I like to say to girls all the time is like, "I really didn't think you were that type of girl."
Well, what hurt more when you were a kid? Was it potentially getting slapped, or when your mom said, "I'm just disappointed in you, Myron"?
Yeah. Sucks. The latter, yeah.
And she's like, it's so bad that she's not even getting angry.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, that means that did something really bad.
And I think the other thing too is that like people have this natural need to be held in high esteem by their peers. And when someone says, "I'm disappointed in you," or "Wow, like I really didn't think you were that type of person," blah, blah, blah. Like what your disappointment and what you're basically also inadvertently telling them is that like, you've lost respect in my eyes.
Potentially.
Right? So I think that's also important too.
But to that end, people tend to be obedient, especially children. It's like if you tell a child that he's smart and handsome, he's going to grow up believing that, whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
If you tell a child more negative things, they might believe that too.
Yeah.
So people actually are more likely to try to live up to your expectations than the opposite. So have positive expectations for the women. Mm-hmm. Expect them to be loyal. Don't necessarily trust until it's valid to do so, but like expect to see in her behavior the things that you want to see there until she proves otherwise.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Okay. No, I like it. That's what we say. Less professional. Assume every girl's a hoe unless she proves otherwise. And
that's pretty much.
It's on her. The burner performance is on her to prove that she's not like every other girl. Because women use that same thing. Like, hey, like, because the difference between them is that like they're kind of doing it up front, right? Through like
they want to disqualify you from the very beginning.
Women want to disqualify you from the very beginning.
And the more you talk about yourself, the more you talk. Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
He's a Trump supporter. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Just
I think that's why going back to being, because someone asked earlier, like, do women really want honesty? And I think women want honesty, and I want to get your take on this, Doc, for their own selfish reasons to quickly disqualify you. Not necessarily to build upon your honesty, but rather they want your honesty to disqualify you from something that might not necessarily align with their sexual strategy at that moment in time. Like, for example, let's say she's 29 and looking for a relationship, and you say, I just want to go with the flow and I'm looking for something casual. Well, now you've objectively disclosed to her that your goal doesn't align with hers, and her goal, unfortunately, is time sensitive. So she will quickly disqualify you. But maybe 10 years prior, at 20 years old, you had given her that information. Well, at the time, I'm just looking for a good time, etc. She might be looking for that as well. Your goals align, she'll get with you. So
yeah, I have this line that if you punish the truth, you're asking to be lied to.
Bam! Right? That's one of my favorite ones.
So how many times
Can you say that one more time for the people?
If you punish the truth, you're asking to be lied to.
Bam.
And how many times is that guy going to say up front, yeah, I'm just looking to smash. Yeah, I just want something casual. It's like you're expecting people to be superhuman and to just say they should be honest, independent of the fact that they're failing and they're experiencing nothing but rejection.
Yeah.
So women unfortunately create different strategies in men. They incentivize different strategies in men because they punish certain other strategies.
Yeah.
And so men learn, it's like, man, I have a tough choice here. I can be totally honest and transparent and be alone, or I can find other ways of navigating this test and get laid and potentially get a relationship.
Yeah. And the only exception to the rule where I've seen brutal honesty actually work with women is you gotta be a higher status guy.
Yeah.
Sorry. There's no way around it. Like, there's no way that you'll be able to be honest about what you really want to do, whether it's being polygamous or wanting multiple women, etc., and be able to do it peacefully, right? Without a woman being all over you and shit like that, unless you're a higher status guy.
You have to have more power.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and it's got to be an overwhelming amount of power from her. Like, you got to be, significantly higher on the total pole than her by 3 to 4 points for her to accept it. Like, if you look at we had a very deep discussion about this with Dan Bilzerian. He's brutally honest with the girls because he's out there on Instagram, right? He's on jets and he's always surrounded by women, etc. They kind of know the deal when they get involved with a guy like him, right? But he's able to do so because his lifestyle and his status, etc., speaks for itself. So women know what time it is dealing with a guy like that. So you're able to get away with it in certain situations. But are most men able to be honest, forfeit a majority of women, and still be able to have sexual access? No.
I would agree.
So that's why most guys can't afford to be honest. We tell you on this podcast, get yourself to a point where you can be honest with girls and tell them I want multiple women, etc. But you need to get to a certain level to be able to do it. And it's just very difficult for a bunch of guys. So
there's also degrees to honesty.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're committed to being the most forthright and transparent in your conversations, in your dealings with women, there's still things you don't talk about. And we're not talking about I'm purposely hiding this.
Yeah.
It's just like the camera. It's only looking at this one thing that it's looking at right now. It's making a choice to focus on this and to not focus on anything else. And so it naturally has to leave everything else out. And
hit camera one, Mo.
Is some of those things that get left out.
They're seeing you, but they didn't see us nodding along with you the whole time.
See, there you go.
That's an example right there.
Framing actually is a way of controlling information, which can be on the spectrum of lying. It's like you see this on the news all the time. When the storm hits, they'll look at the 3 houses that got knocked over and not at all of the houses that are still standing. And so people are left with this mostly incorrect view of the devastation that happened.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the framing creates misconceptions.
Yeah.
So even if you are totally committed to transparency and honesty, you might run the risk of leading people on or making misunderstandings.
Yeah. Yeah. I think transparency is a double-edged sword.
Absolutely.
You still have to have an allure of mystery. Only disclose what is asked and don't offer more information, right? But I think some things have to be out there in the open if you want to have a peaceful relationship, especially if you want to be open, which most of you guys, let's be honest, y'all want to have your main girl and maybe have multiple girls. Like you tell them, hey, this is what I want, and you kind of just leave it there. Let her imagination do most of the work. You're we talk about this, Rollo. A woman's imagination is your best ally with maintaining attraction.
I will counter it and say, I ask questions for this dynamic, so I want to know from the very beginning what you want. I'll tell you what you want to hear.
Fresh does it the other way around.
Because if I know what she wants, I'll get what I want by default. So we both win it in that scenario.
Yeah. But so the dream, it could lead to headaches later, but that's fine. Fresh is cool with that.